It would be good to have a season or two under our belts as we run out of ground in the Yukon. You have to keep your eyes on the future, don't you? Okay, here's the score. Here's what the ground's like in Alaska. After extracting more than $14 million worth of gold, Parker Schnabel closed his own mine and prohibited anyone from going near it. Yes, exactly. Immediately following one of the largest cleanups in the history of the gold rush, he secured it tightly. This same thought was the crazy bet of a youngster years ago, and suddenly it was a monster that spit out gold. Pay attention because Parker's next move will make you wonder if this was about gold or something much more significant. Young guns take a chance. Legends abound about Parker Schnabel's ascent to the top of the gold mining industry. Remember though that it all began with a massive gamble. At the age of 16 he made the amazing choice to succeed his grandfather, the well-respected John Schnabel, in the mining business in the harsh land of Alaska. It's not like that. Don't shut down my staff without first speaking with me. Take a moment. This was not merely a summer position. It was a decision that changed lives. Parker immediately made it clear he was serious. He purchased a new plot of land to dig on with $100,000 of his own funds. He hoped it was a gold-filled claim. The weird part comes next. Just a youngster, he was placing a huge wager on a whim. The tremendous pressure he was under is something that isn't discussed enough. Well, I have a thought. I can just carry dirt to the plant like I did last year, if you want to be in charge of Terry and Gary and the plant. He wasn't merely looking for a small amount of gold. He was committed to hitting a huge objective in the well-known Klondike region. He understood he needed to be quick and shrewd to do this. And he made a daring, calculated move just when you thought it couldn't get any stranger for a child his age. Since most of his staff was unfamiliar with Alaska's difficulties, he made the decision to divide them into two squads. This completely alters the way they would function. The Wolf Cut Crew was the name of the first group. Their role was that of adventurers going to uncharted territory. In order to get the ground thawing out for the wash plant, they had to excavate 30 feet down through virgin soil, chipping away the frozen layers. As you can see, the Yukon is essentially experiencing a race against the sun. The gold cannot be extracted if the ground is not thawed. The Wolf Cut Crew was aware that they were searching for large quantities of high-grade gold, but they also understood that the process would not be simple or quick. With no gold coming in yet, they were spending a lot of money just to get the land ready. I noticed that the plant has some frozen pay-up pieces. Tyson and Justin seem to be struggling greatly with frozen material. There will inevitably be problems because it has been a very cold spring. The Drift Cut team, under the direction of Tyson and his dependable foreman Mitch, made up the second group. The problem is that they had the exact opposite job. They had no time to wait. To maintain funding for the entire project, they had to discover a lot of gold quickly. They meticulously examined every square inch of their mining region in quest of any hint of gold, a little dot in the ground, or a promising gravel layer that might yield a substantial payout. Both crews were working non-stop as the weeks stretched into a month. The entire world was watching to see if Parker could really pull off his big Alaskan gamble, which had become a full-fledged race against time. The problem is that with this large area, I'm not sure if we'll be able to finish it all by the end of the year if we close the facility. However, we will continue to fight throughout the season. We will not slow down with the slewing and instead concentrate on our stripping. The two crews, worked in different universes for weeks, each with their own set of difficulties. You had the Wolf Cut guys on one side. They fought the ground in a protracted, grueling war every day. The bulldozers would push enormous piles of frozen soil, and the enormous excavators would scrape away layers of dirt day after day. The monotonous and physically taxing nature of this type of employment is what no one discusses. They weren't yet discovering any gold, you see. They were merely transporting tons and tons of soil in the hopes that a golden treasure might be hidden 30 feet below the surface. This team was probably feeling a mixture of mounting concern and hope behind the scenes. The operation was losing thousands of dollars every day that they failed to find color. A distinct type of pressure was being felt by the Drift Cut team on the opposite side of the claim. They weren't merely laying the foundation for the future. The bills for the present were expected to be paid by them. Tyson and Mitch put a lot of effort into their tiny squad. They would continuously pan dirt samples while keeping an eye out for that distinctive flash of yellow. It's somewhat odd because in mining you can be a few feet away from a fortune and be completely unaware of it. After digging a trench and discovering nothing, they would abruptly come upon a gold pocket after moving the excavator 10 feet to the left. The game of geological hide-and-seek was tense. Modified water and feed rate. Although it was a lot of fun, it was challenging since you were dealing with open ocean and wide-open material. The whole operation was becoming more tense. Parker was continuously driving between the two locations, monitoring developments, motivating his teams, and overseeing the exorbitant expenses of fuel and equipment. How an adolescent might manage that amount of stress is what raises many doubts. He was more than a child. He was the CEO of a sophisticated, high-priced business. The breakthrough then appeared out of nowhere, just when things appeared to be the most challenging. The Wolf Cut crew eventually found the layer they were looking for after weeks of excavating. It was rich pay dirt. The cell box lit up with gold when they conducted their initial test. At last, the land that had been their greatest hope revealed its secret treasure. Finally, Parker's dream and his unwavering faith in his plan were paying off. The Drift Cut crew also struck gold nearly simultaneously, just when you thought it couldn't get much better. They discovered a deposit large enough to finance their entire operation for the foreseeable future, proving that their diligent search had paid off. Then it dawned on them. Parker's mad scheme to divide the crews had succeeded. All of a sudden, everything made sense. While one crew was paying for their now, the other had secured their future. As word of his dual achievement spread like wildfire, people began to understand that Parker Schnabel was more than just a little child with a well-known grandfather. He truly was a force to be reckoned with. The broken machines and the breakthrough. Parker's efforts went into overdrive as gold began to flood in from both crews. As a seasoned gold prospector, he now focused on a huge gold find that he thought might make all parties extremely wealthy. However, it's somewhat odd because with gold mining you fix one issue and then another one comes up. Nobody anticipated the fact that their own equipment would soon turn into their worst adversary. You see, Parker's wash plant, which was his old gold processing machine, just wasn't dependable anymore. To keep things running, he had been utilizing a rented machine, but Mark, the new crew leader, detested using borrowed equipment. The problem is that rented machines are frequently outdated, badly maintained, and simply ineffective. It was made considerably more difficult by the fact that Parker's best employee, Mitch, wasn't present at the moment. Their goal was to quickly set up and operate the mighty Big Red, their own wash facility. It gets crazy at this point. The enormous machine needed to be moved into position and put together piece by piece. The tailings conveyor was a massive metal tube that the team had to carefully maneuver into the ideal location. It was important to get this correctly. Using chains and excavators to properly position the enormous piece of steel required a tremendous amount of work. Finally, the machine was ready after all of their labor. We're going to be lighting up an unknown plant here to try and finish things out, which has always given us a little grief in the past, but Sir Parker is talking about bringing in the new wash plant that he had constructed and built. At this point, Parker made a startling choice that demonstrated the stakes. He made the decision to block off all access to the location where the gold was discovered. He secured his mine. The underlying goal was to safeguard his discovery so that his team could concentrate entirely on extracting the gold from the ground without any outside interference. His squad was under a lot of pressure to perform, but there was also the possibility of a massive payout. Parker's mine site in Alaska was a fully operational, enormous operation 2 years after it was first set up. They were prepared to truly test the amount of gold they could extract after clearing almost a mile of debris from an abandoned mining region. For each hour the machines ran, they aimed to extract 1 ounce of gold. However, they encountered a minor hiccup right when you thought everything was going well. Instead of using a special scale for weighing in troy ounces, which is what is used for precious metals, they used a standard scale. They proceeded with their first weigh-in despite the slight difficulty. In any case, the gold was still worth more than $23,000, even though they fell barely shy of their 13.88-ounce target. It was an amazing outcome for the first hour of mining and a preview of the enormous wealth that lay ahead. That initial weigh-in's triumph was only the start. The gold was accumulating, and the crew had settled into a rhythm. The magnitude of the gold they were discovering is something that is rarely discussed. They had 3 pans so full of gold during one cleanup that it was nearly unreal. They waited an amazing 253 after one amazing day of mining. 8-0. They were doing more than just mining gold, earning almost $820,000 a day. They were creating currency. Their total at this stage of the season was an astounding $7,381.10. Parker, who was well known for treating his team well, made the decision to lavish them with praise. He surprised everyone by surprising each member of his crew with a bonus of $122,000 in gold. It was evident that he considered their accomplishment to be a collaborative effort. However, just when everything appeared to be returning to normal, another catastrophe occurred. Rocks began to clog their equipment. Evan, a recent hire, was the first to identify the issue. To get rid of the rocks, they had to repeatedly shut down Big Red. Now that he was back in command, Mitch saw that Big Rock was causing blockages because a screen within Big Red was ripped. The slew width of this W plant is significantly greater. Therefore, that should boost our yardage and enable us to complete all of the money pit tasks that we must complete here at Dominion. Choosing an unproven strategy this late in the season is a bit of a risk. However, this was a major issue. In addition to slowing them down, the clogs might be costing them gold each time the machine clogged. It was Mitch's responsibility to climb up and replace the enormous heavy screen. The task was hard and demanding. Mining resumed after they eventually rectified it, but the difficulties persisted. They found that the gold was not settling properly because pebbles were also obstructing the water flow in the cell boxes. Once more, the malfunctioning screen was the cause. After Big Red was permanently mended, it was time to discover its true potential. And the outcomes will surprise you. Following the restoration, the initial cleanup produced 51.6 ounces of gold valued at $90,000. It was a fantastic beginning. The other wash plant, a device they dubbed the slew heifer, arrived next. An incredible 210 ounces were produced by this machine. The most exciting portion, however, was still to come. To weigh the gold from Sloofer's massive cleanup, the crew assembled. The scale's readings continued to rise before coming to a startling halt at $360.50. That amount of gold from their second-best machine was about $600,000. The level of enthusiasm was incredible. Then it dawned on them. They were sitting on a fortune with this amount of gold emerging from the earth. This is the point at which Parker made his significant choice. He decided to close all access to his mine because of the size of the cleanups and the fact that the ground was so rich. Nobody anticipated the fact that he was probably sitting on one of his career's highest pay streaks and that he needed to safeguard it from other miners or anybody else who might want a piece of it. It was a daring action that caused a stir around the group of gold miners and indicated that Parker Schnabel had really hit the jackpot. The rumors about the gold rush. Now what's actually happening? It is an amazing tale of success to watch Parker Schnabel and his team extract more than $14 million worth of gold from the earth. It's a story of triumphing against adversity. You know, fans of a hugely popular television program like Gold Rush are always speculating and making assumptions about what goes on behind the scenes. Devoted fans examine every scene on the internet, and their debates raise some serious issues and crazy theories regarding the program. Fans refer to one of the most popular hypotheses as the maker's gold. The problem is that a significant portion of the show's enjoyment is derived from the drama of reaching a season objective. According to the hypothesis, producers may find a means to help a crew reach their huge dramatic goal if they are only a little bit short of it by the end of the show. The pressure from the TV network to give viewers a huge, satisfying ending is something that no one discusses. According to this notion, a tiny bit of gold might be added to a final weigh-in to improve the appearance of the number and produce a more thrilling conclusion. Some fans think that might happen, but it's a massive scandal to even mention. They question whether each and every gold speck we see on the scales originated on the ground during that season. The land deals are the subject of another, more in-depth theory. Not all of the ground that Parker mines is his. He notably rents a large portion of it from Tony Beats, another legendary figure from the gold rush. According to the episode, Parker gives the landowner a royalty or a portion of the gold he finds. There's more to the story though. That's what the fans believe anyway. The specifics of these arrangements are what actually raise a lot of questions. According to the fan idea, the royalty agreements are far more intricate than what is seen on television. The royalties rates need to be adjusted, even though the latest cut is excellent. For example, we pay 25% royalties after 6,000. We would offer Tony Beats over $2 million for 8,000 ounces. To be honest, I would be broke if I did that. Some of the concepts are unbelievable. Fans question whether there are any hidden benefits. Does Parker receive a royalty discount, for instance, if he mines more than a specific quantity of ounces? Conversely, are there hidden consequences if he fails to reach a particular goal? As if things couldn't get any stranger, some fans believe that the adversaries may be more amiable in real life than they portray. The competition makes for fantastic television, but perhaps they exaggerate the drama for the cameras because their business relationship benefits them both so much. The weird part comes next. The lost gold is the subject of the most ludicrous controversy that people talk about. The idea is that not all of the gold they uncover is represented by the weight we see on the show. According to this theory, the miners may actually be performing smaller, less spectacular cleanups that are never captured on camera. They may discreetly sell this off-camera gold to private purchasers. Why would they act in this way? The problem is that it would provide them with a consistent flow of income to cover expenses like food and fuel without needing to be a major plot point for a television show. Additionally, it would imply that the enormous totals we see at the end of the season may not be accurate. Nobody anticipated the fact that their actual income may surpass the astounding figures we witness on the show. There are even theories regarding the crew, as if that weren't enough. On TV, we see a core handful of individuals, but a massive mining operation like Parker's needs far more assistance. Other workers, truck drivers, and mechanics are probably not captured on video. This raises concerns regarding the real pay of the crew members we observe. Do they receive a genuine percentage of the gold, or are they only paid a salary? Since the show doesn't reveal these specifics, viewers are free to use their imaginations. Does Tony leave? Airlifting his second dredge out of Thistle Creek must be his last option. He ought to continue flying over us. He may pick up a few new skills. These hypotheses offer a whole new level of fascination to the high-stakes business of gold mining, regardless of whether they are genuine or just idle chatter. However, it's important to remember that there are more than simply fan speculations concerning potential current events. Real on-camera explosions that were genuinely sensational at the time have been a part of the show's lengthy and chaotic history. The time of the Hoffman gang and their infamous failures is what no one discusses these days. You see, Todd Hoffman and his team of rookies were the main attraction years before Parker was the king of the Klondike. A disastrous journey to Guyana in South America was their biggest scandal. With lofty hopes of discovering gold mountains in the wilderness, they departed Alaska. The weird part comes next. It failed completely and utterly. Almost no gold was discovered. The team was unhappy and their equipment kept breaking down in the heavy muck. It was a startling season for fans, like witnessing a train crash in slow motion. With everyone discussing how a crew could be so ill-prepared and make so many poor choices, it turned into a major scandal in the fan community. One of the worst failures in the history of the show is still the Ghana season. A real-life illustration of how gold fever may set you on a road that is both costly and unproductive. Parker closed the door to millions of dollars in gold. However, what precisely was he attempting to avoid? Were they competitors or secrets? Hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts with us.